Adidas F50 League, a perfectly acceptable league level takedown boot. However, it's also a boot that I would absolutely pass on, and a boot that I think Adidas just need to do better with. Feels like there wasn't a lot of thought, care or consideration gone into this outside of how do we put out a boot that has an F50 name and will make us a lot of money. So let's break it down and see if at the end of this you should end up buying the F50 League or if there are other options that you should consider instead. We'll start with sizing, and you can see I have the older generation and newer generation F50s here. There have been some changes made between the two boots. There seems to be a slight slimming out of the padding in the new one. I do think the new upper is that little bit softer. The texturing is also more pronounced. I think overall the newer F50, although very similar, is a slightly better boot, but in sizing terms they're going to be the same. So I have these in a US 8, UK 7.5, 26 centimeter boots. Now that's what I would normally buy across most boots. I have a 26 centimeter long foot, so the 26 centimeter Japanese sizing is where I go. Now for reference, in the F50 Elite and in a lot of Adidas Elite level boots over the years, I'll actually wear the US 7.5, the 255mm, 25.5 centimeter. But I always find for takedown models, whether it's the additional amount of padding, the thickness of the upper, I find going for that regular sizing actually works out a little bit better. So measure your foot, and whatever size your foot is, either buy that size or the half size bigger if you want a little bit of extra room. When it comes to width, I do think that the old version does have a little bit more width in it through the midfoot, but the new version does seem to shape a little bit more nicely around the forefoot. Now, I'm not actually convinced there's been any change in the last at all between the two boots, but it just seems to be how they are from the two boots that I have in hand. They are on different sole plates, so that could be playing a rather large part in adjusting that shape. However, when it comes to the actual width, the midfoot, you do get this compression fit tongue, which is going to slightly limit what you're able to do, but overall, good midfoot width, reasonable forefoot width, and unless you have a very wide foot, these should fit you just fine. Thank you to everybody for watching Boot Wizard. If you are watching and you do want to support us, please head down into top pin comment and into the description where you can look up how to become a Boot Wizard member, so you get videos like this before anybody else, as well as grip sock discounts that are absolutely beyond anything else that I offer. It'll also give you an opportunity to buy the boots that I'm talking about today, and if you pick them up from those links, then I do earn a little bit of commission, which allows the channel to continue. Your support is very much appreciated, and I want to give a huge shout out to my members who are quite literally keeping this channel afloat. So thank you very much to everybody. Please support where you can, and at least by liking the video and getting subscribed as well. The outsole is an area where I think Adidas do pretty well on these league level takedowns. So this is essentially a replica of what you get on the elite level, just with a few small alterations to the stud profile, slightly to the stud shape, but it's good and stable. Reasonable amount of responsiveness, and I think overall a decent option. There's also, of course, the multi-ground that I have here, which is probably the better option for just being able to use it on lots of surfaces. Definitely a little bit more on the heavier side, but overall, sole plate and stud pattern, absolutely decent, perfectly passable, maybe slightly better than you would expect from a league level boot. However, not better than you would expect from a boot at this price, which is where we start to fall into a slightly more problematic territory with league level boots. That leads me to two things that I don't like about this boot, and the first one is the price. These are 90 euros. The laceless version is 100 euros. And for that kind of money, you should never ever be buying a league level boot at full price. It is madness. You can go out and pick up boots that are on sale at the elite level even for about this price. Buying these at full price is insane. There is no need. You shouldn't be suckered in by this brand new colorways and things like that and needing to get the most recent one. If you need to buy league, it should be because you're looking at something that's maybe 50 euros and you're trying to save a little bit of money by getting league on sale. Never pay full price. And I'm not just taking a shot at Adidas here. I apply exactly the same logic to Nike, to Puma, to anybody with this third tier takedown that are not, in all honesty, of a quality that I highly recommend. Go and check out a pro or an elite level boot on sale. I think the price of these is ridiculous. And that is especially when you can compare it to something like this. If you can start looking outside the big three brands, this is the TLSS Striker 0.717 in MG. This boot is £80, so it's about 100 euros, and it the difference is absolutely insane. This is so much better than this. This is in that kind of pro tier level of boot at its full price, not on sale. I cannot recommend these at full price, and honestly on sale you're still teetering a little bit. Try and look for a pro or an elite level boot instead. The other thing that I don't particularly like is the upper. I just think while it's soft, it's cheap, it's plasticky, I'm just not overall a particularly big fan. This tongue, it's pretty thick. I know it's the compression fit to mimic what's on the Elite, but it doesn't feel particularly great in terms of quality. I just don't particularly rate it. As for two things that I do like about the boot, the first one you should have kind of seen coming is the outsole. I think the outsole is pretty good on this particular boot, no problems there at all, and you get all of the various options. And then the other thing that I suppose I like, and it's because it's an improvement from Adidas over previous years, is that the heel fit isn't too shallow. Adidas have had an issue for the longest time where the heel fit is particularly shallow, but over the last few years they do seem to have fixed that, and these do benefit from not having a heel fit that feels too shallow. I've said shallow too many times. We'll move on. So let's talk competition. And I kind of touched on it just a minute ago. If we're talking about Nike competition and we're going speed boot for speed boot, the Mercurial is pretty much in the same boat as this, and my feelings are very much the same, that you shouldn't buy it at full price. If we're talking about other items, like for example, even other Adidas items like the Copa, I think the Copa is probably their best league level takedown. The Predator is okay and a big improvement on the previous generation, but I still stand by everything I said that you shouldn't buy them at full price because I think it's madness. When it comes to Nike, the only boot that I would recommend at this particular price point is the Phantom 6 Academy. I think the Phantom 6 Academy is a fantastic boot at a really good price and something you could consider. However, again, you can still go ahead, pick up something like the TLSS or a pro or an elite level boot on sale at around that 90 to 100 euro mark, and you will be much happier. The fit, the quality is generally just going to be better. These are cheaply made to be sold in large quantities, and I generally cannot recommend them. Unfortunately, that's a review of the F50 League. If you want to see some more takedown level reviews like that Phantom 6 or the TLSS, then click these videos right here.